Okay, so these are what I call some fun thrifting miracles. Which one do you like the best? Um, so I do think it would be fun to wear something like this. um, I don't know. I think I like the butterfly.
Hey, so who are the daughters of Zelophehad? Well, um, let's talk about the first five books of the Bible, and then we'll talk about these five daughters. So we have Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, all written by Moses. Um, we have Genesis, um, then we have Exodus, where, this was like the beginning of the wilderness, right? Um, and we have a lot of um, uh, the meetings with the Most High here to Moses um, that were like within the first little bit of them escaping Egypt and where they had met on Mount Sinai. And then we have Leviticus, which is like a continuation and has a lot of the instructions that the Most High had given to Moses, again at Mount Sinai, concerning the tabernacle. Then when we get to Numbers, this is actually like a 38 year period because they were in the wilderness for a total of 40 years. And so Numbers was like a 38-year total period. And this is gonna get into some civilian matters where um, the brothers brought up the question um, to Moses about some things. The sisters brought up the question to Moses about some things. And then in Deuteronomy is like the last little bit of Moses's life where he gave his final instructions. Um, you know, thus saith the Lord, the Most High, to the children of Israel before Joshua and Caleb led them into the land of Canaan, which was the promised land. Um, and so in Numbers 27 and Numbers 36, the five daughters are mentioned. And first, because their dad had died, and they were like, "Excuse me, but we don't have any brothers. Are we gonna receive the inheritance of our father?" And they had to like um, appeal to Moses that their dad wasn't of the um, ones that provoked the Most High to wrath, but their dad, just died in his own sin, or of his own cause of death. And their names were Mala, Noah, Hogla, Milcah, and Tirzah. And they said, "Why should the name of our father be done away from among his family, because he hath no son? Give us therefore a possession among our brethren of our father." So Moses besought the Lord the Most High, and he had said, "The daughters of Zelophehad speak right. Thou shalt surely give them a possession of an inheritance among their father's brethren, and thou shalt cause the inheritance of their father to pass unto them." And so not only was this like about inheritance, but it was also about passage, right? Because they're still alive to enter into the promised land. Um, and then the brothers brought it to Moses again in chapter 36, the very last chapter of Numbers, before receiving instruction of how to, you know, divide the land of Canaan and enter into the promised land, I think that we're getting at something. I think that these five daughters are going to symbolize five women in the last days before we enter into the kingdom. Because even in like 27, um, Moses told everybody, he said, let this be a statute and a judgment. Um, um, for anyone else, if you have no daughter, then you see that his inheritance unto his brethren. If they have no brethren, then he shall give his inheritance unto their father's brethren. If you have no father, have no brethren, then he shall give the inheritance to the kinsman that passeth to children. Um, and it shall be unto the children of Israel a statute of a judgment, as the Lord commanded Moses, as the Most High commanded Moses. So basically, this was something that they had appealed, they had brought before Moses, and Moses brought before the Lord. And the Lord said, yes, they have spoken right, and to continue letting this be a statute in the future generations. And then the brothers were like, wait a minute, in 36, what if they marry other Israelites from other tribes, and then their father's wealth is dispersed to other tribes? That doesn't seem fair. And so since they were from the tribe of Joseph, they had to marry within the tribe of Joseph so that their father's inheritance would be kept within the tribe and not redistributed. But when we start looking at the names of these daughters, and that they are mentioned in 27, which 27 is always a number that like pops up for me. And I didn't know if it meant that I was like spiritually 27 years old and I was never going to surpass 27 spiritually, or what. I honestly didn't know why 27, 27, 27. But I really believe that there was an instruction that the Most High was giving to me through that number and through this word. And then I can understand why I've received so many visions, dreams about four women, myself included in that group. And it's so heavy and resonates in my heart so much, because it gives me understanding about the end times, even through the books of the law, right? And so, never discredit, like one half of the Bible, because these instructions, when interpreted with understanding, um, are can be so vital. Um, okay, let me get my computer charger. So basically, someone told me when I was in a church at college, by the name of Justin, he said, I had a dream, and there was like a group of women in a circle, and like you were in the middle of those women, and like you were praying for them and igniting them with fire. And it was like a really the women were like really like spiritually strong. Like this was a strong group of women. And he reflected just as much of the dream to me. And I thought about it. I said, wow. I said, yeah, I mean, I pray with women sometimes. I don't know if I'd stay in the middle or anything like that. But, like, yeah, I could lead women's prayer groups at some point, sure. And then my friend Jacinta, she had a dream that there was like another circle of people, but there was like spaces between them, and the bulls were like coming in, or the presence of evil was like coming in, because they they weren't like tight enough, right? Like they weren't like together, they weren't on one accord. There was distance between them. And so the presence of evil was getting through, like to the middle. And I started picturing, um, thirdly, that the middle was like the place of Messiah's return, and that these were like the first fruits of creation that were gonna meet him in the air, whether it be Mount Olives or wherever that might be. Um, I know I've talked about working with students with disabilities, and I think the people can be ready when he returns to meet him anywhere. He says he'll gather us from the four corners of the earth. So there's that, but I do also believe in a gathering, um, almost like a big coliseum, or whatever it might be, to where there's like people that love him so much, just like Mary Magdalene um, saw him at his grave, right? And was the first to see him when he was resurrected before he ascended to be with the Father. And that this group of women was like key and ideal and vital, um, or this group of first fruits, because as Jacinta didn't see it like specifically like women or whatever, but the people that long for his appearing would come together, and that they would not leave room for the enemy amongst them, but that they'd stand united, and that they'd fill in the gaps with whoever else could believe and stand apart of the truths, being revealed to them within their heart and mind and spirit, and say, yeah, I feel that way too right now in the world. I desire that too, and um and when you see the name meanings of these women, you see that they don't have everything in common. They each have different gifts. Um, and I started having dreams and revelations about who these five women were, and I believe that they are meant to be a tight circle. Um, that intercede and pray and fast and come together and believe and build each other's faith that can conquer evil, for the return of the Messiah. And I believe that it really takes each of these women's gifts um, to take what they have and believe what can manifest from them. Um, and myself included. And sometimes, it's like we feel like we give our all, or we feel like we try our best, and um, at the end of the day, you have to be able to pat yourself right and say, well, I played my part. I ran my course. But then you have to also ask, wait, was there anything else that I could have done in this life? Is there any other ways that I could have been an impact? Is there, um, is this going to equate to something? Is this going to um, weight? Is this going to have weight, eternal weight, value? And it's like, yes. So when you read their names, let's see, yeah, from chapter 36, first it's Mala, and the name means sick. Um, I have a friend that is completely sick of this disease-stricken world, and that alone, almost everybody could say, yes, I look forward to a time when there will be no more sickness and no more tears. Um, and, I know that she can identify with that much of the scriptures, and have a longing and a passion for it, and also a disbelief and a disheartenment. Think about this. Every single December, you say, oh, Santa's going to come, Santa's going to come, you know, and you're fed into this lie and this delusion. and you start not believing, right? But what do you start not believing in? You start believing Satan over Christ, and you stop feeling that longing, that expectation that Christ will return as we celebrate Feast of Trumpets. Um, but Mala, I'm just gonna use the names as the scriptures have that the Most High has revealed to me in my heart, that these women reflect in these last days as we are in a time of the stars, the wonders, the people that are living are are replicating, um, a wonderful, you know, blip in time, and we're replicating some of these things in the last days. And so I'm just going to use these names here that were written back in Numbers as a reflection of four women that, and including myself as a fifth, that I've had a lot of dreams and things about. But Mala, being the first one here mentioned in 36, meaning sick, and literally she's sick of this disease-stricken world. And she's taught me so much. I mean, when I met her, it was like something just um, lit up in my spirit. I was just like, oh, because um, when I first saw her, and I looked at her, and I told her eventually, I said, when I first looked at you and I saw your eyes and everything, I thought, you are a daughter of Zion. And like I went to her place a couple of times, and um we did a lot of just like exploring the city, talking, adventuring, getting ideas from each other, and um, just like pouring into each other. Like, oh, I feel empty today. Oh, I feel empty today. Like, we had an energy explosion between us, to where we were giving each other ideas and inspiration. And like she was like, I have to take you to this tree. And I can't remember the name of the specific tree, but we went through like we were so inspired by the city um, at that time, right? Which sometimes the city can lose its sparkle. But we were going under the bridge and seeing the murals of the what do you call it, when all the tiles are put together and to make a mural. Um, and we walked all the way to like this tree. She's like, what does this remind you of? Like, and then we started talking about like identity, and like who do you believe you are in ancient time and in modern time, and who I believe I am, and she taught me to really ponder, who I felt I could identify with in ancient time and in modern time. Um and the tree, looking back, was just like, wow, tree of life. That's none less than Yahusha. Like, um, the in the Garden of Paradise in the future that we can eat from freely, that He's going to be giving us all of our needs, all of our sustenance, and is alive and present with us now. Just as He was then in the wilderness by fire by night and cloud by day. He's still present with us now. He's present through the shedding of the Holy Spirit within our hearts, to confirm things amongst us, and to be our daily bread, and to be that heavenly manna that we eat from. And um, he's so present in our lives. And when she took me to that tree, I just had to think back on the tree, think back on the tree, think back on the tree. I said, wow, you know, um, this is such a moment in my mind that I will always remember, meeting Mala, and visiting this tree. And then she always says, yeah, I always think of other people as trees. Like, if he's the main tree, right? And we're all, a part of his tree, we're his branches. And, and he's the root and the vine, and we remain in him. And so she's like, I always try to like water the trees. Like, I water the main tree, and then I water this tree because it reminds me of this person, or I water this tree because it reminds me of this person. Um, and, and so, I just thought that was kind of cool. And, I met her in 2017. Well, the next in the list is Tirza. And it's so crazy because although I didn't get really like acclimated with this like forerunner in the faith um, until 2022, um, I had a childhood friend named literally Tirza, and she had like the same hair, and then, like, even when I was in college at that church, where that guy Justin told me, yeah, there's a circle of women, and you were praying for them and stuff. And um, well, the college pastor's wife even said, you know, like one day she said, "You have the most beautiful hair," talking about this girl who I was right there amongst too, and I witnessed, seeing her hair, and the pastor's wife commenting her hair, and it was like the same hair that my friend Tirza had, right? And so lo and behold, in 2022, I am going vegan and I'm looking for inspiration to go vegan. And I found Tirza's, um, um, as from my perspective of my understanding, um, what do you want to call it, platform where she was sharing, all about being a raw vegan. And so this was like, I hadn't put it together with the scriptures or anything yet, but it was like such a place of delight. And that's what Tears' name means, delightsomeness. It was like, wow, like this is so like enriching, like delightful, like joyous, just like it was she had an authenticity and something so unique about her, and I was like, this is just so fun. Like this was missing from my life. And I wanted to include more of her flair and her sparkle, um, into my eating habits, and just making it more of a positive thing and not a diet thing. And so I started tuning in to um, when she would release her weekly encouragement, and I started looking forward to them. I started watching them every Sabbath day. And it was like such a good break from listening to the men and stuff. It was just like, oh wow, this is so like refreshing, delightful, like gives me inspiration, good ideas, gets me in a better headspace, and I started like really incorporating a lot of what I was learning and gleaning from her channel into my everyday life. And it started just being like a really positive, um, outlet and um, connection for me. And so, that was in 2022. And when I moved to Plant City, like here I just showed you recently, um, I found a natural organic farm. It's called the Land of Delight. So it kind of like connects again, like the name, right? To delight some, and now I have the Land of Delight, and I can further take my journey into that delight, um, of what we have here to nourish ourselves and to be fascinated by, and to just like take the joy within that. Um, all those cool types of things that we can eat, whether it be star fruit, dragon fruit, avocados. I mean, mangoes. There's so many enriching foods, and I had wrote previously in my book, that um, in certain Caribbean countries, they had abundance of these sort of like um, exotic types of harvests. And, I hadn't really taken advantage of my own ability to access those fun uh, harvests of vegetation, fruits, um, yet fully or completely, even though even in Fort Lauderdale, I was getting my raw cashews, and I was getting a lot of collard greens and, utilizing what I had access to. But here in Plant City, I have access to even more. And so that was in 2022, and I met her through her platform there. And then in 2022, also, I met someone named, um, who we call Hogla. And Hogla means partridge. Um, and I partake in this this sense of the partridge and what the partridge is known for, as did this woman that I met in 2022 who defended orphans and the oppressed, right? And a partridge is supposed to showcase motherly qualities of defending um, your young. And it was like, this was truly, truly the fire that lived and burned in me. Um, I, I, I had to um, really fight. I had to really fight um, from 2019 through 2020 through 2021, um, all the way to 2022. I mean, there was like occurrence, reoccurrence um, of the adrenaline of that mother tiger, you know, that like my second son, this was already birthed in me from my first son. So my second son, before he called me mama, he called me rah rah. Like I was mama tiger, rah rah. Like her, like, don't mess with my young. And so I started portraying these qualities of Hapa, and to the point where, I defended my young as a single parent, and that was a really prominent characteristic that the Father was burning in me through his spirit as he defends the orphan and the oppressed, and ignites that within mommies, like a tiger or a lion or a bear, to want to defend your young. And I also had experience being a missionary into the orphans, and the woman that I met in 2022, she did that as well. She defended orphans and things, and it was really nice to meet her. And her essence of who she is also just like continues to resonate in my heart and in my love. And then in 2022, 20, so also in 2020, 20, actually, okay, so we're gonna go, so Milka is the next one. It means queen. And back to 2017, I had a dream, girl from Australia. Oh, we were a journalist, and it was like amazing. Like, wow, like I could see that she had a really strong heavenly gift and calling, in my dream. And it wasn't until uh, 2020 that I started watching from her platform and getting encouragement and just like um, really, really learning from what she had to offer as well, right? And like it started like just nourishing my spirit and the things that she was saying and sharing it was like resonating with me so much. Um, it was like building me in my faith, and I began to just be so thankful for these connections, as I further reached out to her in 2022, and I was able to email her um, and encourage each other. And it's true, she is a queen, especially of the New Kingdom. And I wanted to encourage her, like, like shoot to rule and reign. Shoot to fly, to be invincible. Shoot to surpass the riches of this world or the riches of the kingdom. And um, and she did. She always sought the heavenly riches, the wisdom, the knowledge, the instruction, the understanding, the um, all the heavenly revelation. And so she was rich. She was rich in him. And I really liked seeing what Yahusha would reveal and instill in her. Um, and that just like gave me a lot of um, assurance through her perspectives and through, because like I had explained to Mela, it's like um, you know, we were like a pie chart. Like if someone had a lot of this and someone had a lot of this, we needed to come together to have like a fuller perspective and learning from each other and or each other's um, spiritual gifts, each other's callings, and be like a sisterhood, like a family, you know, for this type of uniting, right? And then in 2022 also, um, 2022 to like 2023, it was started like just like resignating my spirit, like um a lot of like songs, and like I shed many, 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 many tears um as um I started being revealed to me a celebrity that personified Noah so well, and whose name means movement. And the movement can be like a lot of rhythm um, and things of that nature. It's also like movement within the earth. Like she stewards a lot of like movement of and then prophecy and allowing things to prevail. And and she's provided a lot of um, songs and things that have brought the movement and have kept the movement over generations as time and prophecy has played its course and proven one and proven the next to the present day. And I just think on all those tears I cried over the one song that was published like a couple years ago or a few years ago, and it just was such a beautiful song. And so I consider these like my soul sisters, like my tribe. Um, and their importance is like so heavy to me. Um, and I think of them as first fruits in creation. And like there's other people that I know that resemble them and resemble different things about them, or maybe whereas one person's testimony relates to this person, another person's testimony relates to this person. But through these chains of creation, we can create more and more people that can connect and maybe fill in those gaps, right? And some maybe, oh, reflect on what you have to say, and I reflect on what you have to say, but I don't reflect on what you have to say. And well, that's because of this person's nature and gifts and likeness, and I really do. I believe that these five women are like first fruits in creation and women pioneers to do sort of more of that emotional birthing and praying of the future world to come. And I consider them like essentials, you know. I consider us like essentials, and it's hard to like know if we've played our part, or if there's any more that we can do. But I do know that like I've had visions, or dreams of the future, and seeing like their heavenly mansions, seeing like their gifts for the next life, and shining in the next life, and before just their spirits can glow, it's even having new bodies, and um, just that no more sickness and no more tears. I've seen these ladies in that state. Um, these four other ladies, and I've seen myself in that seat too, and it's like, wow, like I had never seen myself so confident, like um, so healthy, so happy, um, and and I want that kingdom for these women, and I want that hope for humanity, um, and this isn't race or division. This is um, being united for a better understanding on the hope of what's to come. And so I hope that that brought like a little bit of understanding to you of like, um, if maybe you do identify as one of these women, or if you maybe just like the idea of it, and just wanted to learn from my perspective, or understand like, like why I had spoke previously about um, a women's movement, and if that helped you kind of like glean understanding from the book of Numbers. That's what I have to say about it, and their importance of the kingdom to come, and our importance, and basically the last vision that I had was us uniting and just praying and fasting and seeking the kingdom, and slowly but surely we were we were manifesting its reality, and it was coming, and so I just hold on to that much, and maybe you can as well, so that that hope um, can become our experience together one day. Shalom.